Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. 2 fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrate the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Welcome to another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark Out, a pro wrestling podcast about pro wrestling. It's just me this week. It's just me. Just a little Blade daily. Just, trying to get an episode in. No, Joshi G couldn't be with us, so, I take it on. I take it on myself. Because you cannot be without an episode of this podcast, and I need this podcast desperately for my own sense of relevancy and fulfillment, because I define myself very healthily, I might add, through production. If I don't create something, I'm worth nothing. And that's my therapist, and I disagree about this, but I honestly feel like that is what my self-esteem should be based on. So, here we are. Okay. Here we are. We're getting to the thing they call full gear. Okay. And you know what that means. You know that we're going to do another prediction special. And I asked you crazy motherfuckers. I asked you on Threads. I asked you on Blue Sky, and I even asked in some other places what you are most looking forward to about this show and for your wild ass predictions about what could happen. And then I read all of those ideas, and then I created what I thought were my own predictions and wild ass ideas, but they're probably stolen from you guys that I'll claim the credit for. You're welcome. Anyway, very happy to be here with you. This week was fucking wild. There was like a windstorm in the Seattle area that came out of nowhere. We had 70 plus mile an hour winds, knocked my power out for about 24 hours. Who needs power? Who needs heat? Who needs food to keep in their fridge? Who needs it? So I was without power for about 24 hours. I cried only a couple times. Okay, a little more than a couple, because a couple is technically 2. It was more in the 4 or 5 or 6 range, but still, only 4 or 5 or 6 times did I cry. And my dog and my cat looked at me and were really losing a lot of respect for me. And it's hard to blame them, honestly. It really is. But downloaded by hook or by crook, I have terrible 5G connection in my apartment. And so I downloaded individual issues of Green Lantern using my phone as a hotspot to my iPad. And each issue took 17 minutes to download. And I ended up downloading 18 issues and read almost all of them. And I got to say, Green Lantern, Jeff Johns' run on Green Lantern, I've always been a Marvel guy, and I still am. But I'm coming around on this Green Lantern thing. When people would describe Green Lantern to me, it would be so overwhelming. I was like, I thought Green Lantern was just a dude. I knew Hal Jordan, but when people start talking about Jon Stewart, I'm like, no, he hosts The Daily Show. Then there's Kyle Rayner. There's Guy Gardner. Then there's these other fucking weird alien Green Lanterns. I had no idea what was going on. But this Jeff Johns run, it's a good place to start. If you're interested in ever learning about Green Lantern, start there. Start there. So I started with Green Lantern Rebirth, read the whole thing. Then I read the next part of that series called No Fear. And this is all on the DC Infinite app. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. What do you want me to say? It's good. It's good. It's real fucking good. Shut up. Okay. Whew. Beef. There's a wrestler in AEW right now who has seemingly come out of the darkness to regale all of us with tales of heroism and tales of red fatty meat. And his name is Beef. Now, I have friends one friend in particular who is a humongous fan of beef. Okay. And you know what? I'm a humongous beef fan as well. Beef is quickly becoming one of the big highlights of AEW programming for me. Rampage, like it's almost a lock every single week. Beef is going to be on that show. But just as Harley Cameron found a way to make every minute matter and establish herself as somebody you have to be paying attention to, Beef is doing the same thing. I love his matches. I love his work. But his character work is just amazing. He calls literally everybody cousin. He's just fascinating. And it's very much a Vince McMahon-like WWE-ish style character. But it's working gangbusters in AEW because it's so unlike anything else that's going on in AEW. That's the thing about WWE and AEW, and like when people talk about, well, the stories matter more than the matches, or the matches matter more than the stories, or, characters more important than work rate, or blah, 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 blah. How about this? It all fucking matters. It all fucking matters. Okay, so like WWE isn't the only place where goofy gimmicks work. They work in AEW as well. But you got to do them right. And you got to stand out from the crowd. And that's like saying that great wrestling doesn't work in WWE. Of course it does. They have fucking Gunther at the end of the day. All right. He's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world. All right. I saw him as Walter on the Indies years ago, and the man was absolutely fucking incredible. Okay. So like good wrestling works anywhere. Good characters work anywhere. And Beef, man, he is just really, really amusing. His finisher is called the Kentucky Meat Shower. Disgusting. That's just a disgusting image to have in your head. But it's really working for me. It's really working for me. Big love out to Anthony Henry. Hopefully he gets back sooner than later, because he's a really important part of this story. And I think he works with Beef a little better than JD Drake does. So I really want to get that going again. But really just want the workhorsemen to kind of like have some kind of story, even if it's only on Rampage or shit anywhere, really, or Ring of Honor, anywhere. I just want to see them on my TV. I really am enjoying it. So big love to Beef. Big love to Reign of Toads, the resident Beef fan. Also, on a media call today, Tony Khan said that there has been serious interest expressed in a media rights deal for Ring of Honor. Interesting. That is interesting. I think that would be a great thing if it were to work out. But I want people to remember something, okay? When we talk about Ring of Honor and we talk about the glory days of Ring of Honor, Ring of Honor never had a cable television show that was nationally broadcast, ever. They were syndicated. They were broadcast on a variety of different networks at different times, on different days, in different cities. Good luck finding it. If you lived on the West Coast like me, it might air somewhere, but you had to guess and you had to fuck around and find out. And it may not be on that channel at that same time again the next week. And it's probably on at 2 a.m. If Tony Khan is able to actually secure real television on a network, no matter what network, no matter what their distribution is, it will be bigger than anything Ring of Honor has ever done from a business perspective. I do understand that there are these Ring of Honor loyalists that have followed the company since its inception. I can't claim to be one of them. I do really enjoy going back and learning about the founding of Ring of Honor, the glory days of Ring of Honor. I really do. Okay. I was fortunate enough to go to a Ring of Honor show back in like 2018, I believe, 2019, something like that. Before Tony owned it. And it was a lot of fun. It was so fun. Okay. But those days are over. Okay. The need for Ring of Honor to exist as it existed before isn't as strong. All right. Because the quality of wrestling that AEW has brought to television is so much higher than anything that's ever been experienced before. And so many of those legends from Ring of Honor ended up in NXT and ended up on those pay-per-view specials or ended up on in AEW. And now they're there to help groom the next generation of super workers and super stars or whatever you want to call them. They're there to groom them into what they were. You know, you're seeing your Darby Allins and your Wheeler Yutas and your Daniel Garcias, guys who would have been probably main players in a place like Ring of Honor. You're seeing them be groomed for success on AEW TV. What Ring of Honor is currently is very murky and watered down, and I do think it can be much better. But if AEW finds any way to get this on some kind of actual national television distribution, that's a massive success. And then you can have maybe people who are more full-time in Ring of Honor. When you do that right now, as they've done to Athena, regrettably, and I hate that they've done it, when you do that now, you're keeping them off TV. They're not able to actually help Ring of Honor that much because they're not on TV. They're not being featured. They're not being seen by as many people as possible. They're behind a paywall as well. So there's a high barrier for entry. So I feel bad for Athena. I have no idea what the thought process behind this is, but I feel terrible for Athena because, you know, like Mark Briscoe is on Dynamite, you know, every week, and he was as the world champion. He almost never defended the belt in Ring of Honor. Athena's only defending in Ring of Honor. She's only wrestling in Ring of Honor. And I don't get it. I don't understand why, but her star power fades while his increases, and he's barely ever defending the title. I think that Ring of Honor, for it to succeed as a TV show or as an entity, whatever it's going to be going forward, it needs to be distinct. It needs to have a roster that's full-time, or at least some people on that roster that are full-time. And I think you probably want to start putting the Ring of Honor title on really promising up-and-comers. I could see a Daniel Garcia being the Ring of Honor champion. I could see a Wheeler Yuta being the Ring of Honor champion. It's okay if there's a bit of a hierarchy to it. People watch NXT right now, which is promoted as a developmental program, but actually has a huge distribution model. People are watching it. So they'll watch Ring of Honor too. You just got to figure out what Ring of Honor needs to be today in order to survive. So a few more notes before we roll on to what we're here to do. Collision was super good this past weekend. I am loving Collision lately. It is just fucking firing off on all cylinders. They are making Collision feel like a follow-up to Dynamite, which it should be, instead of this universe of its own that's just existing on its own. I thought that Mina Shirakawa and Harley Cameron had a really fun match. Who wants Harley? And the crowd said nothing. And she says, I had no idea there were so many liars in the audience tonight. She's so good. She's so good. Her and Mina have a very fun match that Mina wins predictably, but Harley's just looking better and better in the ring. This woman is in her bag. She is going to make a bunch of money and be a huge star. The match that really grabbed me, though, was Mariah May and Anna Jay. Holy shit. These two women murdered each other. Unbelievable. Mariah took some insane bumps. Anna Jay took some insane bumps. These two beat the shit out of each other. Anna Jay's stock has risen so fast since she got back from Stardom. Like, I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away. Another highlight, and Mariah, retains her world title. She's 2-2, really. Or no, 2-1 versus Anna Jay. She wins the rivalry. Anna Jay is no longer allowed to challenge for the world title as long as Mariah is champion. One just little side note, Lio Rush has been cutting incredible promos. He's been doing really good character work. His in-ring work is just springing forward. This next iteration of Lio has me so excited. I don't think I've ever been this excited about Lio Rush. This man needs to join the Hurt Syndicate, okay? He's calling himself the man of the hour again. A couple weeks ago, he started talking about how he has the business card. He's not appearing with Top Flight anymore. but he has the business card of MVP. And he said Bobby Lashley's name, and just hearing him say Lashley, it just feels fucking right. Fucking get Leo with the Hurt Syndicate. I have an idea about how they can do it real soon, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But let's talk about Dynamite, huh? All right, we're just going to run through the highlights of Dynamite here. It was a really fun show. I would say another 8.5 out of 10 show. Some really good matches, some really good segments. They're getting to the point now where on Dynamite, I would say they are really tightening up their storytelling in so many ways. You know, there's obviously times where they don't or whatever, or they drop the ball, like with Stokely Hathaway as a character in general, like Chris Statlander and Stokely, and then Stokely with Private Party. Like, what the fuck? That just disappeared. So not sure what's going on there, but, you know, I don't obsess about those things because they're not happening all the time. They happen every once in a while. It opened with an 8-man. It was Will Ospreay, Mark Davis, Ricochet, and Hobbs versus Kyle Fletcher, Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and Konosuke Takeshita. What a fun fucking match, okay? It was an all-star 8-man tag team match, and I loved it. There was actually a little bit of physicality between Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher in this match, which there hadn't been up until now. I don't think that that's meant to last. I don't think that this entire situation with Davis is going to last the way it is right now. I don't see him having the durability as a singles wrestler and as a babyface. I just don't see the point in that. They seemed like they're setting up Ricochet and Takeshita. I was sure it was for Full Gear, but it hasn't been announced yet. We'll talk more about that later. The ending came when Will Ospreay accidentally hit Davis, and they snuck a pin in on him. I think Takeshita pinned him. Really good match. A lot of fun. Adam Cole came out to, cut a segment. He's talking about Roderick Strong, and even though Adam's not going to be fighting MJF, Roddy is, and he's going to beat MJF's ass, blah, 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 blah. Then I thought this was really interesting. Kyle O'Reilly came out, and when his music hit, I realized he comes out to other people's music because he's usually part of a team with a conglomeration. He comes out to other people's music so much I don't know his music right off the top of my head. But Kyle came out and gave kind of a low-key promo where he kind of told Adam to calm down. You're trying to be more evil than MJF. And what you need to accept is you're not evil like MJF. And that's a good thing. And then he just walked out, and Cole just kind of stood there. And what I like about this is I feel like there's a little more going on here. I think Adam Cole might not be as pure in his intentions as he claims to be. Obviously, when you look at the Devil storyline, Adam was going to be a heel. Okay? And for him now to come back and sound like he is so morally justified, it still doesn't make a lot of sense. If AEW doesn't bank on people forgetting shit very often. Okay, that has been a norm in pro wrestling, but we've all spent a good amount of time remarking upon the jaundiced appearance of Adam Cole, okay? Because this man does look like a man who needs to hydrate immediately or get treated for cirrhosis or something. But I think even the tan and everything, MJF does this with spray tanner, okay? Whereas tan's uneven and he kind of looks like shit. And Adam Cole certainly isn't looking the greatest. And he's got to have heard the feedback on that, okay? So I'm starting to think that's intentional. There's more to it, but I think there might be something brewing here with Adam. Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. Holy shit. These women had an incredible match. Really, really good. I could watch these two fight any day. This was one of my favorite AEW matches of the last month. Chris Statlander is so fucking amazing, and Hikaru Shida is so fucking amazing. They are just fantastic wrestlers who have great chemistry. They beat the shit out of each other. Statlander, predictably, pins Shida with the Wednesday night special. But it's kind of it pulls a rabbit out of her hat at the last minute out of nowhere. Takes the pin. Then Mercedes and Camille come down. Mercedes cuts a promo that I thought was actually very good before telling Camille, who's still got her arm in a sling, to get her ass in the ring and beat the shit out of Sheeta and Statlander with one arm. Camille's like, what the fuck? Are you serious? She gets in there and promptly gets her ass beat, gets thrown out, lands on her arm as she's going out, lands on her injured arm. It gives Mercedes some time to get in the ring and attack Stat, blows up in her face real fast. Stat puts her on her ass. Mercedes is knocked down in the middle of the ring, just laying up there looking at the lights. Stat looks strong. Fantastic stuff. I think I'm as excited for this as I was for Mercedes and Willow. And obviously we'll be talking more about this in a little bit. Bobby Lashley faced Cheeseburger and another guy, and both of them are now deceased. Bobby Lashley murdered two men. Earlier in the night, the Hurt Syndicate had been giving a promo. Bobby Lashley was wearing the craziest fucking suit I've ever seen. It's like a pinstripe suit with multiple colors and then an all-white shirt and an all-white tie, looking dapper as hell. And Swerve snuck up behind him and just punched Bobby in the head with a donkey punched him with a fucking chain wrapped around his fist. And then after Lashley finishes, killing Cheeseburger, and Cheeseburger scraped off the canvas, Swerve's music hit, and Nana comes out with a chair, and Benjamin and MVP get distracted, and they start kind of like walking towards Nana, and Swerve runs through the crowd again and donkey punches Bobby Lashley again with the chain. Then Benjamin and MVP run back into the ring, and Swerve does that crazy flip out over the top rope, then hand springs off the apron and lands on his feet. Incredible stuff. Really like this with Swerve. I thought it gave this a little boost that it needed. This has already been very good, but this was the last little finishing touch. And, Swerve is your future. You got to treat every storyline Swerve's in as premium, and they're doing that, and I loved it. The next match was Darby versus Claudio Castagnoli. Fuck. Claudio with smaller dudes is always fire. It's always fire. But this was just crazy. Because, it's Darby. And I really loved a couple things about this. One, Claudio's entrance music is so badass now. It's perfect. Please never change it. Even if somewhere down the road he turns babyface, please never change this man's music. It's awesome. But Claudio also, he was wearing white boots and black tights, and that was it. There's no design, no nothing. I loved it. No frills, no gimmicks. That's kind of the Death Rider's creed, right? And this match just became crazy. Loved Darby doing some really cool technical stuff in the beginning, and kind of like Darby's just adding a different element to his game. He was obviously taking the match very seriously, trying to avoid getting caught by Claudio, but you knew that wasn't going to happen. And the highlight of the match is probably when Claudio clears the entire fucking announce table off. You're like, what's he going to do to poor Darby? Then he pressed slammed him like Bam Bam Bigelow to Spike Dudley. And he threw Darby Allin from the announce table through the timekeeper's table 10 feet away. Like, unfucking believable, except he didn't go through the table. The table didn't break. And Darby very appropriately ends up laying in the timekeeper's area with the cover of the tablecloth wrapped around him like a death blanket. Incredible match. Darby makes a comeback. He's able to get back in the ring just barely. And Claudio immediately crushes him and pins him, which I found very surprising because it felt like it's been feeling like they're building up Darbs to be the face of this revolution against the Death Riders. But Claudio gets a relatively clean pin on him. We'll see what happens next, but this was so good. So good. I love Claudio as the merciless killer. He's just kicking ass. They showed some footage left over from Collision. What I didn't talk about in the Collision recap was that Daniel Garcia had wrestled on Collision, and while he was, Jack Perry sneak attacked Daddy Magic, who was at the commentary booth, and dragged him to the back. He was going to chain him to the back of the scapegoat bus, presumably killing him. And Garcia ended up cutting him off. He freed Daddy Magic. They double team Perry, and they chain him to the front of the scapegoat bus and drive it through like these barricades. I mean, it was wild. It was absolutely wild. So they drive him through that, and it was a sight to behold. It was very cinematic the way they filmed it. So then Dynamite is a continuation of this kind of bit where they show more from that scene where, Jack Perry's been abducted. He was chained to the front of the scapegoat van, driven through a bunch of objects, and now he's tied up in a chair. Daddy Magic's in his face. Garcia gets in his face, and Garcia basically is like, I'll beat the fuck out of you. And Perry's like, you don't have the balls to do anything that would really scare me. And they get to that point right where it looks like Garcia might do something. And I can't remember the implement he has at that very moment. I think it's just like some kind of tool or something that he's going to hit Perry with. And he can't do it. So he busts the front of the scapegoat bus, gets damaged and beaten up a little bit. But ultimately, it's kind of limp dickish. It's not very effective. And Perry is very amused by this. Garcia and Daddy Magic leave. And Perry is very, very happy with himself, loving the Raven-like qualities of this scapegoat character. Jack Perry has just been fantastic this entire year. To put that in some perspective, Jack Perry already has some rub to give somebody like Daniel Garcia, when Perry himself, when he first came back in May, didn't even have a rub of his own. And now he's gotten himself so over in 6 months that he's already given the rub to a guy like Danny Garcia, who really needs it. Jamie Hayter got interrupted by Julia Hart segment. Danny, again, from Editorial Style, this is the last vignette that she did for Julia Hart, and it was amazing. The character work that they are establishing for Julia Hart is second to none. It's as good as anybody's in the business right now. I'm loving it. This is the kind of thing, and it doesn't need to be, certainly you wouldn't do the exact same thing, but you need some kind of, I think, what I see AEW doing and what I want them to keep reaching for is finding an aesthetic for each performer that fits them. And some of them are going to be more lo-fi than others. Some are going to be more cinematic than others. The only ones they really have are House of Black, Julia Hart, The Righteous, when they were doing it for The Righteous. And those are all the scary kind of culty gimmicks. They could do it for more than that. And I think it would really be to their benefit to do that. I may have missed somebody in there, but give that some thought because, man, and fucking hire Editorial Style full time. She is like amazing. So we are building to some kind of Julia Hart, Jamie Hayter program, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then the main event was Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta. Super strong match from these two. Really enjoyed their work. Orange Cassidy was a lot more aggressive here. Particularly, he used a penalty kick, a PK kick, and a brainbuster that looked harsh and badass. It was super cool to see him with new moves. He was being very aggressive in this match. There was also a lot of really good aggression and acting from Wheeler Yuta. You may remember from Collision a few weeks back, Yuta tried to hit OC with the chair. He ran out to hit him and he couldn't. And this time, Yuta went out, got the chair, swung it like he was swinging to kill, and Orange Cassidy dodged it and snuck in a pin. And then the Death Riders came out and beat the shit out of Orange Cassidy. And Mox came down with Marina. Claudio puts Orange Cassidy's hands in his pockets, and then he taped his arms to his sides. And Moxley, Orange Cassidy can't fight back. His hands are in his pockets. They're taped to his sides. Moxley starts taking shots at him. The Conglomeration finally make the save. They weren't at ringside initially because Cassidy screamed at them. Very uncharacteristically screamed at them to not be there. But the Conglomeration came down, made the save. The Death Riders were retreating, and Cassidy, kind of gets freed finally from the tape and puts his glasses on and puts his hand in his pockets as a sign of defiance. And that's your go home segment for your main event at Full Gear. And now, my friend Aruz, my friend Anistas, it is time to talk Full motherfucking Gear previews and predictions. Whew. First thing we got to talk about Full Gear. TK getting the license for November Rain was a master stroke. He noticed that WWE let November to Remember, the trademark on that, lapse. And so they've been calling their November shows, which they're doing a much better job of promoting on TV. They're calling that November to Remember. And then he gets November Rain as kind of the theme song for Full Gear. And on Collision, they showed an 8.5-minute video summarizing all of the stories going into Full Gear. And it was so good. It was absolutely fantastic. You know, I was watching live with some friends, and all of us were just fucking geeking out so hard. And I have watched that video on YouTube like 4 times now. It really, really weaved these stories together so much. You know, TK buys this stuff in perpetuity. So it's going to make the trip to Max. It's not going to be scrubbed 25 years from now. It's always going to be there because it's been licensed permanently for this purpose. And the Dynamite also opened with November Rain and like a shortened video summary that was also very good. This song now, to me, I mean, I've always loved November Rain. You know, I'm not like a massive GNR fan, but when they hit hard. And November Rain is just a classic. And I will always associate the song with AEW now. So hats off to Tony Khan. Hats off to the editors who've made these videos just so impactful. So just had to give a special shout out. November Rain is now the official theme song of Full Gear for me forever on, no matter what they do from here. So, we're going to start from the top down. Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley is your main event for the AEW World title. We all know Jon Moxley and the Death Riders formed to wipe out Bryan Danielson and his career at WrestleDream, and successfully did so. And that show closed with a closing shot of Darby and Orange Cassidy. And here we are. Orange Cassidy, I think, is going to wrestle in a much more serious and probably brutal way. I think he's going to give Jon Moxley his money's worth. But I do believe Jon Moxley will win. It's way too early to end this now. Okay? I think Moxley's going to push Cassidy into dangerous terrain, but Moxley's going to triumph probably through bullshit, probably through some kind of interference. And I think this is going to mark some kind of dramatic shift in the Orange Cassidy character. It's not impossible for me to see him turning heel. However, he does sell like a ton of merch, and he is one of the few characters in AEW that's incredibly popular with kids. AEW is not a kid's product, but you know, if you're going to try and get people to bring their kids to your shows, Orange Cassidy is a pretty fucking good person to do that with. The story, you know, up until now has been very good. There were a few weeks that were a little redundant in that they felt a little samey to me, but, you know, overall, good story. Orange Cassidy says, you know, he's looking for revenge for his friend Chuck Taylor. Jon Moxley says Orange Cassidy's a sociopath, that he didn't care about Chuck Taylor. Did he even go to the hospital with him? Like, he doesn't care about his friends. This is also something that Chris Statlander said and something that Trent Beretta said. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. Does Orange turn heel? And as my friend Peg Me Bundy says, does Orange become radicalized and join Jon Moxley and join the Death Riders? I think it's a possibility. The hardening of Orange Cassidy has been excellent. Orange Cassidy and the man who plays Orange Cassidy are so good, so much range. And I think this is what he needs to be a main event player, period. I think this settles that. He is a main eventer. He's main evented 2 pay-per-views, both with Jon Moxley. But God damn it, this is going to be a great fucking match. And I do believe Jon Moxley will emerge triumphant, and I think Orange Cassidy will emerge forever changed. Will he turn? Will we see that in the moment at the end of the pay-per-view, or will it happen on Dynamite, or will it happen over time? Who knows? But something big's happening here. Chris Statlander challenges Mercedes Moné for the TBS title. I'm very excited for this match. These two have had great chemistry in the build. My prediction is that Mercedes Moné is going to win, partly because Stat has been presented as damn near invincible in this feud and has already gained a lot from the way she's dominated both Camille and Mercedes. She has looked utterly dominant. She has looked like a killer every step of the way. And I think either Camille's going to find a way to help Mercedes win and get back in her good graces, or very possibly the Hurt Syndicate will make their presence known because we remember they gave her a card and they'll help her win and she'll go in that direction. But I think it's been so one-sided in the build, that I think Statlander has to lose. Now, this is the first time that I've really thought Mercedes has a chance to lose. I'm favoring her, but like 60-40, 55-45, not by a lot. I think there is a chance Statlander could win, but I'm going to go with Moné. TNT title, Jack Perry versus Daniel Garcia. Like I said, it's been a really good few weeks of steady build. I've really enjoyed the dynamic between Garcia and Perry. I don't think, like a lot of you, that they're going to end up making out and becoming a couple. I don't think so. But, if they do, I'm sure they'd find an interesting way to do it. I think Jack's purpose here is to try and push Garcia to betray his own morality. Garcia clearly sees himself as the good guy. Perry says there is no such thing as good and bad. It's been kind of Perry's MO from the start. But I think Danny Garcia needs to win here. Doesn't need to win, like it'll destroy him if he doesn't, but I think I don't know where he goes from here if he doesn't win. Like, Jack is the kind of character that doesn't care about wins and losses so much because he's playing this bigger game existentially. He wants to ruin people. In a way, he's actually kind of like Mox. He wants to toughen people up and show them that their moral equivalencies or moral high grounds mean nothing. And Garcia has come so close on a big stage so many times. He almost beat MJF. He lost by the skin of his teeth. This feels like his moment. I think it's time to put it on Danny Garcia. I think Danny Garcia is going to beat Jack Perry. It's probably going to be the only title change of the night. I think pay-per-views more often than not should have a title change. And this will be the one. Hangman Page versus Jay White. This one is interesting to me. I don't think this feud has ever quite hit the gear I've wanted it to. They are essentially feuding over win and loss record, historic win and loss record, which just isn't that personal, Jay's been very transparent that he wants, the first time he wanted to get revenge on Hangman for injuring him and attacking his friends. This time, Jay, he wants to get in contention for the world title. Hangman has proven that he can absorb losses, and I don't actually think Hangman and the man who plays Hangman, Adam Page, care that much about wins and losses if the story is good, especially this character, because I think a loss could drive him deeper into that reactivity and borderline psychosis until something happens in this story to snap him out of it. And he's not there yet. I think Jay and Hangman need more story. The feud is good, but it feels a little bit, like I said, it feels a little bit undercooked to me right now on a personal feud. To have this long of a rivalry, which has gone on for now, 6 weeks. If Hangman wins, it's hard to see how the story ends here. If he loses, he still has something to avenge. So I'm going to pick Jay White. I think that might be the one. And then they do the blow off at World's End, maybe. We have Swerve Strickland versus Bobby Lashley. I have a theory for this match. My very specific prediction is that there's some way Swerve is put at a disadvantage right away. I saw somebody say, I'll be reading theirs later, that, maybe Swerve gets attacked before the match, gets beaten down really badly, and then the match starts. And that gives Lashley a really unfair advantage. I have a feeling that somewhere in this match, Lio Rush, fresh off his loss to Swerve a few weeks back, will interfere on Bobby's behalf and join the Hurt Syndicate after he costs Swerve the match. It's just way too soon for Bobby Lashley to lose, but he should definitely cheat to win. Lio just belongs in Hurt Syndicate, and I think he will get over massively there. I am so high on Lio right now. I think he is crushing it. I think he's ready for a big push. I don't know what that means as far as titles, but I do know that I want to see this guy on my TV every week. He's really, really, really been impressing me. But I think Lio will be the key to getting the victory for Bobby Lashley. MJF is facing Roderick Strong, and this is where I said, we talk more about Adam Cole later. My prediction is that MJF is definitely going to win. MJF had cut a promo on Dynamite, basically pointing out that Roddy was raised in a trailer park, that his parents were both addicts, that his mom shot his dad in front of him. Kind of like he's just trailer park garbage. And then Roddy cut a response promo that, really presented him as a true blue babyface, which is, he hasn't been since he's gotten to AEW. His promo was very, kind of had that working class babyface vibe, that he broke the cycle that his family was in and that he doesn't care about MJF's criticisms. He's coming for him. I saw somebody say something outlandish that I'll probably read later. It's probably in my list of things to read, that Cole's going to help MJF win. And I think that's very possible. There isn't like a direct reason why, but I think they are hinting at the narcissism of Adam Cole while presenting him as this babyface, like his old babyface role. Adam Cole likes to be a heel. He thrives in that role. His interactions with Kyle have felt unnerving, kind of like Kyle O'Reilly can see through Adam Cole. And I even think Adam Cole's like terrible spray tan and all of that is kind of this subtle indication that he might be turning heel, or he's still a heel and he was never a babyface. Because MJF, I believe I said this earlier, MJF is very notorious for these uneven, nasty looking spray tans. And it wouldn't surprise me if Adam Cole is kind of either in league with MJF, or he doesn't feel like Roddy should be the one, and he can't let Roddy be the one who beats MJF. So I think Adam Cole, I'm going to go with it. I think Adam Cole could cost Roddy the match, but it should be a super interesting match no matter what. Next, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. This is going to be an unbelievable match. These two both can work like a motherfucker. They both have motors that never stop. I realize that I have already predicted a ton of heel turns and shenanigans, okay? I realize that the show will probably not feature as many of those things as I've predicted. It's kind of ridiculous. It seems like I'm predicting it for almost every match. But when Ospreay accidentally kicked Mark Davis in that eight-man match earlier in the week, it felt like the missing piece. And I feel super confident that Mark Davis is going to turn on Will Ospreay, give Kyle Fletcher the victory of his career so far, and join the Callis family. I really think that's what's going to happen. Kyle Fletcher's going to get his signature win. Davis, I just don't see him as a singles babyface. For some reason, it just gives me like big Jim Neidhart vibes in the post-Hart Foundation. Not a slam on Davis at all. He just belongs in Aussie Open. I think Aussie Open could go after the tag belts. After all, Kyle Fletcher turned on Will Ospreay when they were fighting for the tag titles. That was why he turned on him. So, they're going to be in Australia in February. So it's hard for me to see how you do that without Aussie Open being a part of it. I think Aussie Open can live on in the Callis family. I think Kyle Fletcher's taking this. I think this could be the match of the night easily. I think there's several others that could be as well, but this is going to be a really great fucking match. These guys have insane chemistry. We have a 4-way tag title match, the House of Black versus the Acclaimed versus Private Party, the champions, versus the Outrunners. My prediction, it's got to be Private Party. They have to win this. Their victory over the Young Bucks, after all that time and all that build, it has to mean something big. And their title reign has just started. You know, Isaiah kicking out of all the Young Bucks stuff. It has to mean something. They can't just be dropping these tag titles. Would I love to see the Outrunners or the House of Black get those belts? Yes. But not yet. Not yet. It's just not time. The other question is, will Max Caster turn on Anthony Bowens here? They've been teasing that. And certainly MVP has been, I like that they have kind of revealed that MVP is specifically courting Max Caster. He's not courting the Acclaimed. It's just Max Caster. I've had the thought maybe Bowens could swerve everybody and he joins the Hurt Syndicate and turns on Caster. But I think Caster's really the one cut out to be a heel here. So does he turn here, or do they maybe some kind of miscommunication causes them to take the pin and then they allude to, you know, tension that then carries over to Dynamite? I don't know. But I definitely think Private Party's winning. The Max Caster heel turn's on the way. I don't think Max Caster can be a babyface. Just people don't like the guy. He's naturally unlikable. Plus, some of his Twitter behavior is pretty gross and weird. So I think Max Caster is much better off as a heel. Then they're having the champagne celebration, or as Christopher Walken would say, champagne celebration, with Mariah May celebrating her world title victory with Mina Shirakawa. I think this is all a big vehicle to get Toni Storm back out. Now, Toni Storm did retire earlier this week. She retired from all wrestling, all elite wrestling, any wrestling. She announced her retirement in what was clearly a work. But I did find something interesting. She said in her retirement that AEW doesn't need her. Shortly after Wrestle Dream, Eddie Kingston said he didn't think AEW needed him. And in an interview that was clearly all kinds of work, Kenny Omega talked to Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful and said AEW doesn't need him. So I think these are three of the main people who will come back to help get AEW back in the driver's seat and get AEW doing things the right way again. I think Mariah will probably turn on Mina somehow, and Tony will come out and make the save. That's the main card. The 0 hour as of this taping, the only thing announced is Big Boom AJ versus QT Marshall. My prediction is Big Boom AJ. But my question is, who the fuck are these people? I don't know who the Costco guys are. I have no fucking idea. Okay. And I have no problem with them being there. I saw some people freaking out about AEW doing this, that it's stupid and that it's going to, that it's this kind of shit ruined WCW, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's utterly stupid. It's marketing to people who may not watch wrestling, who might want to see this guy, Big Boom AJ, who clearly has some kind of big following, wrestle. And whoever these Costco guys are, they appear to be popular. And no pre-show match is going to sink AEW. Now, if they made Big Boom AJ the AEW World Champion, that would be a big fucking problem. But we're not talking about that. This is literally the 0 hour. Okay? And he's wrestling QT Marshall. QT is not a wrestler in AEW. All right? He's going to lose because it means nothing for him either way. Even if he won, he's not going to be wrestling on TV. It makes no sense for him to win. Just have a guy like him, who it doesn't matter at all if he loses, have him take the loss. And, it's good for QT as well, because getting this exposure against a guy who's clearly got a big following helps him with his indie rates when he wrestles. So I'm left with a few questions. There's only one women's match. This happened to Wrestle Dream too. Not liking this trend. Okay. I will say that in some ways, Mariah May having this big champagne celebration in the middle of a pay-per-view could be just as big as her having a great match. I do firmly believe that, okay? Because Mariah May's character is still being understood by the audience. So when you give her these kinds of opportunities, it makes her into a bigger star. The only other person that I could even think of having a segment in the middle of a pay-per-view on the women's roster is Mercedes. I mean, she's the only other one. So I think this could be a big deal for Mariah May, and I hope it is. I hope it is. But again, guys, you can do better than this, and you need to do better than this. And then lastly, where the fuck is Okada? I know he and his wife are parents again, and I'm happy for him. But man, it's been a weird, 6 weeks without Okada. What the hell? All right. Well, those are my predictions. My wild ass prediction is Lio Rush is going to join the Hurt Syndicate and cause Swerve. But I asked you what you're looking forward to. I asked you on Blue Sky Threads and elsewhere. And I have your responses coming up next. All right. It's time to read your predictions, what you think is going to happen, your wild ass predictions, and what you're most excited about. Kurt Jangle said, for pure mayhem, that four-way is going to bang. Four-way being Private Party, the Outrunners, House of Black, and the Acclaimed. I agree. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Peg Me Bundy said, remember that bloodbath Orange and Mox had, presumably at All Out last year? It'll seem like a play date. I think that's a safe prediction. Miss Fitmess, Mox versus Orange, Swerve versus Bobby, Danny versus Jack in that four-way are the matches she's most looking forward to. Wild prediction, Lio Rush comes out, looks like he's going to join Hurt Syndicate, but decides he wants Nana to represent him. Ooh, that's like mine, but with a little swerve there at the end, baby. Great minds think differently. And Kurt Jangle also, so Kurt was the one who said that he thought Adam Cole would cost Roddy versus MJF. Kurt Jangle had said, run that Hangman Jay White match back-to-back with the Swerve match and find a way for them to cross paths on the ramp. That's a very, very good idea. Fanac42 says, Tony flies me out for Mariah and Mina's champagne celebration, and it turns into a champagne three-way match where the first person to kiss their opponents after drinking a glass of champagne wins. We all drink our glasses and do a triple kiss, and we all win. Tony also lets the three of us get married. Fanac, I like the way you think. I really do. Kurt Jangle, they fight a bit. Swerve is hurt before his match even starts. He can look strong in defeat against Smashley. I think I did steal that from you, Kurt, so my apologies. Bo, Nuclear, Vessels X. The way Claudio dismantled Darby last night, I really don't know what to expect with Mox OC. It seems way too early for Moxley to lose, though. I agree. Over on Threads, Matt Not Donovan says, wild ass predictions. He has two of them. We don't get a clean decision in Swerve Lashley, and both members of the Acclaim join the Hurt Syndicate. Interesting. I like it. Dr. Fusion from Threads says, kind of gives a card rundown. Roddy over MJF. Wow. Hangman over Jay. I predict a gruesome match. Kyle over Will. Private Party retains. Perry will lie, cheat, steal, win over Danny. Lashley wins over Swerve. Statlander over Monet. And Mox over Orange Cassidy. Wild prediction from Paper Sunset Vids. Kingston. That's the whole thing. Love it. Professor Degree, I think I'm looking forward to Fletcher and Ospreay the most, but Perry Garcia has piqued my interest. Honestly, the whole card looks amazing, so it's hard to narrow it down. My kids are only interested in the Rizzler showing up on the pre-show. See, again, I have no idea who the fucking Rizzler even is. Neon Ghost. Probably looking forward to Orange Cassidy and Moxley's match the most. I have 4 wild predictions. The Outrunners win the gold. Bullet Club turns on Jay White. Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry will kiss, and Tony Storm returns. I think at least one of those will happen. Antoine Wilson. Wild prediction. MJF wins his match against my boy, but it's because Adam Cole interferes, messes up, costing him the match, and the Undisputed Kingdom turn on him. Totally not happening, but worth it to see. Good to hear from you, friend. Books and Body Slams. Tony returns, and I'm going to manifest Kenny, even though that isn't happening. I'm really excited for Ospreay versus Fletcher. Going to be an amazing match. And OC and Mox, I can't wait to see how that ends. Are we getting more Infinity Wars vibes or Endgame vibes? Professor Degree jumps in and says, I think it's still Infinity War at this point. I feel like Endgame is a little way off, though I would love it if Orange won the belt. Books and Body Slam says, I think Endgame will be when the Elite returns. I think OC deserves it. The work he did as an international champion was amazing. Professor Degree, I'm beginning to suspect you're right. Reign of Toads was putting the pieces together yesterday, and it makes sense to me. We are agreed on OC. He's more than deserving, and I also think he's kind of a gateway for folks who may not normally be wrestling fans because of his style and the way he sort of gently mocks wrestling and breaks kayfabe. I know that all my non-wrestling fan friends enjoy him. I can vouch for that. I think Orange Cassidy is the wrestler you show somebody who doesn't watch wrestling if you want them to give AEW a chance. Every non-wrestling fan that I've ever known who's seen Orange Cassidy, he's always one of their very favorites. Decamps 2024. The hater extraordinaire. There will be an Orange massacre. He will be pulped. Mark will turn on Ospreay. Wardlow will return and realign with MJF. Ooh, very interesting. Mariah will hurt Mina. Swerve versus Lashley will rule ass. And Kenny won't return till World's End. Boo. I want Kenny to return. Decamps also adds, the tag title match should result in the Outrunners getting the gold, but I think Private Party retain. Persia, just combining Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia, finally reaches its zenith, and Jack and Danny end up rutting like beasts in the center of the ring. Hanger beats Jay White by miscommunication with the Guns. The Guns end up aligning with Hangman to form a new posse down the line. Wow! 2 people now predicting that the Guns are going to turn on Jay. And a Holy Cauldron then responded to Decamps 2024. It says, definitely thinking the same with Mariah. Then have Tony come out to save Mina and set up for Mariah versus Tony at the next pay-per-view. Wardlow is definitely an exciting angle. Hubs and I think he will come out to be partners with MJF. Business partners, not friends, but also not the dog he's been playing for forever in AEW. Really don't want to see that angle with Wardlow again. Davis and Ospreay, I feel like they want us to think that, but I'm kind of hoping not. The whole card is stacked at AF, and I'm excited. AF. Very, very good stuff. So those, nope, we got a few more. Ocean for hello. Hangman versus Jay White is going to be awesome. Not sure who wins. Both guys feel evenly matched, and there's no clear advantage other than White having the Bang Bang Gang. Wild prediction, Austin and Colton Gunn cost Jay the match and become the Hangman's Guns. Wow. I did not think of any of that, but they haven't been on TV. It's just been Juice and Jay. So maybe you guys got me turning on this. I like it. That would be a great way to continue this. And can you imagine Hanger with the Guns? Like they would annoy the shit out of him. Oh my God. That'd be great, actually. 3 is a 3. I a 3. Says, most looking forward to Lashley versus Swerve. Wild prediction, Roddy beats MJF clean. That is a wild ass prediction. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I like where your head is at. Great stuff, you guys. I love getting fired up by your ideas. Over on Blue Sky, Thomas McCulloch, Mox beats Orange Cassidy. Darby runs out to help, but the Death Riders take him out. Lights go out. Kenny Omega's music hits. He runs to the ring and takes them all out. Oh my God. Thomas McCulloch, let's hope you're right. Let's hope you're right. Let's will this into existence. I want Kenny back. And he should come back to AEW first, goddammit. Jay Gorman responds to Thomas and says, Kyle versus Will, most anticipation to watch for the match itself. Hard to disagree there. Swerve Lashley and Orange Mox, I want to see what happens around those matches and the consequences. Wild prediction. Anthony Bowens joins the Hurt Syndicate before Caster gets a chance. So Daddy Ass joins the Vendetta. That's Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie's new group. Interesting. They did appear to be showing some interest in Anna Jay, by the way, after the match on Collision. So be interesting to see where that goes. Maybe they were interested in Mariah. I'm not sure. And then Jay says, more genuine predictions. Mina to turn on Mariah, Yuta to turn on Mox, or Orange joins the Death Riders. Yeah. I could see that happening. 80. Most looking forward to Ospreay versus Fletcher. The story's been great. They'll put on a fast-paced, ridiculously awesome flippy-floppy match for the sickos. My wild, stupid, insane prediction, Danhausen to be revealed as the mastermind behind the Death Riders as Full Gear ends. Very nice, very evil. That's a wild-ass insane prediction, 80. Cliff W. Wild prediction, Orange beats Moxley, but barely. Christian comes out to cash in his shot at the title, only to be thwarted by, Adam Copeland. Most anticipated, hands down, Ospreay versus Fletcher. Very interesting. Very interesting. Ghostly X Dreams. Mox versus Cassidy. He's going to try real hard this time, with Danielson coming back to reclaim his son Yuta, setting up a 3-way custody match. Shark cage optional. Love it. Love it. Very good stuff. You guys are great. Peepow, my boy. Legit can't wait for the QT AJ match. I want to see how well AJ can do in the ring. Main card, the 4-way tag will be fun, and the main will be emotional. Oh, also Fletcher versus Ospreay will be so good. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Lauren 170. Mina is lying to Mariah and is actually helping a returning Tony Storm. Guys, look, they showed that video clip, Mina's coming next week, a couple weeks back, and it had Mina's name and half the screen was in black and white. I mean, they are telling you Tony's coming. Tony and Mina are coming. Oh, stop. All right. And then finally, Hanny NHK. Orange lost to Mox, but Mox is also tired when Christian Cage suddenly appears, signs the contract, and spears Mox. He then beats Mox using the kill switch / unprettier. Christian is the new champ. He runs away before Death Riders jump him. Well, that is a very interesting twist to this little tale. But that's the feedback I got from you guys, and great stuff. Great stuff. I honestly would love it if half these things came true. I really didn't think at all of the guns turning, but I think that's a great story beat. I think that adds that personal edge to Hangman and Jay that isn't there yet, that I was just saying. There's just kind of, it's a little undercooked. That's what I'm talking about. Something like that. So very exciting to see where this goes. But those are my predictions. Very excited for the card. I think it's going to be a crazy good show. I really like that AEW is doing less matches, but they're really learning how to, I believe that they are really learning how to make the most out of each thing. Like when at Wrestle Dream, they were going to have Bobby Lashley come out, but they decided to wait until Dynamite a few weeks later on Halloween, because they wanted everything to be focused on Danielson, and it was so smart. It was so smart. So I'm just so excited for this. I think it's going to be a great show. Hope you sickos love it. If you don't already, make sure you follow Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out on Threads, on Blue Sky, on Instagram. I am iBlade Daily on all of those same places. So follow me there. I will be doing a little bit of live threading during the show, so feel free to join me. But until then, we will see you next week. Joshi G will be on vacation next week, but I will be back with a roundup. I think we will be back next, not next Thursday because that's Thanksgiving, but we will be back next Friday with a kind of wrap up from Full Gear and a review of the following Dynamite. I'm so excited. Hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Hope you all have a great Full Gear. I'm Blade Daily. Until next time, pro wrestling forever.